Welcome back, everyone. This is Thomas Triple T Tie with another new bullish crypto analysis. Before we look at the macro news, news that may impact our investors, remember this is for edutainment only and not to be considered as financial advice. Additionally, please help spread my analysis. They're pretty simple to understand to help others. You can do that by smashing the like, ringing my bell, hitting subscribe if you haven't, and also sharing your thoughts in the comment section. So that will help with the YouTube algorithm. And with that, I think I said the financial thing, right? This is edutainment only. I just want to make sure. Sometimes I forget. All right, so let's dive into the news and take a look. Remember, this is the part 2 of our market analysis. The first part I just uploaded or is uploading is about the trends in the different indexes and stock markets and Bitcoin. So let's dive in. So this one is from Kitco. Gold is the most confusing of all commodities right now. Here's why. Let me magnify this up in case you want to check it out. Some people have very strong opinions about gold, whether they're for it or against it, or they favor Bitcoin, whatever. It's all good. But this news article said gold is abandoning its usual drivers and is focused solely on the U.S. dollar, with prices tumbling around 50 on the day at the start of the May trading. But the unloved in quotes metal could surprise the market with a 2100 year-end price target as investors shift their asset allocations. Wells Fargo head of real asset strategy John LaForge told Kitco News. The way gold behaved this year has surprised many investors, especially when the precious metal choose to ignore the risk-on, risk-off sentiment in the marketplace. I've seen this. I've seen gold sometimes like you look at the gold price and you think it's risk on, and sometimes you're like, what? Wait. I thought it doesn't hold to its traditional way of risk on, risk off. Typically, when it's a risk off environment, price of gold jump up. But this year, so far this year, it's been kind of mixed. I personally wouldn't hold gold, but hey, to each their own. Warren Buffett says monkey could do as good a job investing in as Wall Street financial advisors. And this is according to Make It. I do agree with him to some extent. I've worked with various financial advisors in my career. And he basically says that it's like, you can give a monkey piece of paper and have them throw stuff at it, and when it lands, it'll probably be better than financial advisors. And his advice is just he says that investing is a simple game, and financial advisors have convinced the public it's harder than it really is, and I 100% agree with that. It's not that hard. It's not that hard, and you don't need a financial advisor to invest. In fact, studies have shown that financial advisors, or what do they call those? They don't do as well in the market compared to, like, let's say you just buy straight S&P 500. And Warren is saying that you can save the additional fees because those companies like banks who financial advisors work for, they got to pay them wages. There's expense on top of it, so you got to pay fees. So you eliminate all that stuff and learn to do it yourself. And it's not that hard. So catch this article out if you want to. I like Warren. Warren's awesome, but he's got some certain views about crypto and Bitcoin or Tesla. I disagree with him on. But, no, we all have different opinions. Paul Tudor Jones says he can't think of a worse financial environment for stocks or bonds right now. I can. But that's neither here or there. But Paul Mr. Jones is a billionaire hedge fund manager, and he just basically saying that the environment for investors is worse than ever as the Fed raising interest rates when financial conditions are not are pretty tight, increasingly tight. He says that clearly you don't want to own bonds and stocks. Well, I don't know about that. Like I think if the market drops significantly more, you want to buy the dip. So like maybe you don't want to buy the dip on before the stock market crash, or the stock market tanked, but you definitely want to buy it when it's like when you think it's near bottom. So I hear what he's saying though. Just weeks after returning to the office, many Apple workers are unhappy and ready to quit. So think about this for a second. Apple employees, okay? I think they got pretty cush jobs, and they're ready to quit, and they're unhappy. You know what? I can see why. Like if you think about it, people are accustomed to having the flexibility to work at home and somewhat have more flexibility in their schedule. And they don't have to face driving to work, traffic, and just sitting in your car, all that stuff. I can see why. I think companies need to adapt to having a hybrid or a work environment and cater more to remote working wherever and whenever it's possible to do so. So I have friends who work remotely and they love it. They're able to travel to different places and do their work and have a more balance of work and life. Just imagine you're in like California and you get stuck in traffic for like 2 hours, and some of them get stuck for 4 hours. 2 hours on the way there, 2 hours on the way back. Think of how much of your hours are thrown away in life. So I can see why, no matter if you have a cush job or not. Not now. J.P. Morgan Chase accused of gender discrimination. This lawsuit is from this woman, Miss Campbell. She's 53, and she said that at J.P. Morgan Chase, they created a difficult work environment, accusing management of allowing male financial advisors to steal her clients and excluding her from meetings and belittling Campbell in front of colleagues. Curious. I worked in the bank for about 12 years, and it's hard to imagine. I mean, banks are not perfect. There's a lot of things wrong with banks, but it's difficult to imagine this situation taking place. So I'm curious if it's a unique situation there. But banks back in the news. All right. Amazon will pay U.S. staff travel expenses for abortions and other treatments. And this news article is from BBC News. Basically, they're front-running the leaked document from the U.S. Supreme Court, saying that they're going to override the Roe versus Wade decision back in, 1970-something? So, interesting that some companies are already taking a stance on potential reversal of Roe versus Wade. Speaking of the Supreme Court, here it is. Supreme Court draft opinion that would overturn Roe versus Wade, published by Politico. And this article is from CNN Politics. Basically, the conservative justices are voting to overturn Roe versus Wade. And this Roe versus Wade has been the decision has withstood the test of time for over 50 years. So, this was bound to happen, even though the three most recent Supreme Court justices who were nominated or appointed, if you will, to the Supreme Court said that they respect that law, yada, yada, yada. So basically they lied. So I know abortion, Roe versus Wade, and all that stuff is very controversial. So it's nothing something to be taken lightly. But you're wondering, Thomas, why are you talking about this article, Roe versus Wade, when you focus mostly on the market? Well, I'll tell you why. This decision is very polarizing. When you have something polarizing like this, and you have two sides that could split a country and cause friction, cause social anxiety, social unrest, and then now you have 2022 midterm election coming in, and typically when a party, like right now, is the Democrats that are they have control of mostly of the government. So that party, whichever party has control of the government, their voters tend to kind of be more lax. So they might not turn out for midterm elections as much as the other side that's not in charge. And so with this coming out, it's fueling people, it's creating emotions, and it's getting people to go out and vote. And so but when they vote, those politicians could impact the market. Their decisions, their voting could impact the market. And so this is huge. And if you think this is just about abortion, no, it's not. It's about many things in life, and the market is one of them. So keep an eye on this. Like if the Democrat needed something to energize their base, this would do it. Interesting that the document got leaked, though. And interesting that those three recent judges who were appointed are reversing what they said on camera during their nomination and questioning periods. And Biden, what does he think about all this? Well, he said that the right to choose is fundamental, but he's not prepared to call for a change to filibuster to protect the abortion rights. And filibuster is a political process where they could put things in place to make it, how do I explain this? Actually, better just Google filibuster. They probably have a better explanation than I can explain it for you. So I can keep this short. Let's move on. Fears of Fed, according to CNBC, fears of Fed mistake grow as this week's anticipated interest rate hike looms. 50 basis point is pretty much priced in. I think that's pretty much priced in. I think what the market is concerned about is more aggressive rate hikes in the near future. So, for example, you could come in, the Fed could come in with like 50 basis point rate hikes in their three next sessions, right? But they decide that it's not aggressive enough, then they go 75 basis point. Then that's going to shock the market. So 150 basis point, yep, priced in. 2, 3, maybe. But depending on how inflation comes in, if it comes in really hot, they might get more aggressive, might get more hawkish. So, there's a lot of fear. In my opinion, I think a small recession is like, I'm pricing that in. A bigger recession, potentially. So I don't think we can avoid a recession, in my opinion. So let's take a look at the key points. Markets expect Federal Reserve on Wednesday to announce 0.5 percentage point increase in its benchmark interest rate. Okay, we talked about that. Fears are growing over how aggressive the central banks will have to be to tame inflation. Okay, we talked about that. A recession at this stage is almost inevitable, former Fed Chair Roger Ferguson told CNBC. Okay, I agree with him. Let's move on. Demand for natural gas has never been higher. So why is production slowing? Okay, so we got sanctions. We got Russia, one of the larger producers of natural gas, and most of Europe depend on Russia, yada yada. So why? And the U.S. is one of the top producers of natural gas, and our largest gas production happens in 3 states. Let me see if I can find where they are. It's in the northeast area, the Appalachia area. And basically that area, they sometimes they can building infrastructure to deliver the gas can be challenging, and environmental group protests in building those structures or implementing more structures could cause issues. And that's basically what this is about, is that they can't infrastructure to get to the gas there. It's difficult, and sometimes in winter months it's also more difficult in that area too. Let me see if I can find it for you. Magnify it up here. Yeah, I think we drop about 2.5% in the drop. Here we go. Yeah, Appalachia area, and that is in I can't find what states they were. There were 3 states that were next to each other, but it's around the Appalachia area. I'm just gonna go on to keep this short, but feel free to check it out. It's from Fortune magazine or Fortune website. Amazon to reimburse employees who travel for abortions, other treatment. I believe I covered this already, so I'm just gonna skip it. Yeah, this art, I think I already touched on this. The Supreme Court may have just fundamentally altered the 2022 election. Basically, what I said just before about how this could fuel Democrat base to go out and vote, and so that might have been a reason why the document was also leaked too. Or could potentially, or because someone was very upset about the potential decision. Russia storms Mariupol plant as some evacuees reach safety. Just an FYI for you, some of these evacuees, even though they're told that they would go to Ukraine-friendly areas, some of them actually ended up in Russian territory. So there was another article that talked about roughly about 1 million people were displaced into Russian territories. So very concerning. Anyway, so there's no additional follow-up on what happened when Russia stormed the Mariupol steel plant. But they about 100 people, women and children, were able to be evacuated right before this. So we'll see. Keep an eye on this development here. Vladimir Putin, puts West on notice. Moscow can terminate exports and deals. Great. Okay. Putin begins Russia's bite back over Ukraine sanctions. Give wider power to cut raw materials, produce exports. Yeah, keep all your materials. Great. I think what Russia needs, what the West needs to do, or the rest of the world need to do with Russia, is basically just have Russia trade with itself. And set them back to the Stone Ages, and so they can stop murdering people and raping women and children and stealing stuff from Ukraine and stealing people and kidnapping people. So they have been sanctioning various people in the West, and but in all seriousness, they do produce a lot of commodities that could impact the rest of the world. So, but I mean, like, what do you do at this point? Like, they're just trying to take over a country illegally. And so, yeah. So what I'm trying to say is we have a long road ahead of us as far as what's going to impact the market. So there's a lot of headwind ahead, especially with this guy. Alibaba investors are so skittish they dumped $26 billion because there was news that their Chinese police arrested someone named Ma, but it wasn't Jack Ma. So yeah, $26 billion was sold. Imagine living in a country where you just get so skittish that like $26 million get dumped. Like I sometimes wonder why some of these billionaires like stay in the countries that are so against them. Anyways, Shanghai, back in the news. As you know, Shanghai has been going through their lockdowns. They're having major impacts in the world supply chain because ships can't go in, can't go out. There's not enough people, yada yada. So, in the latest news, some of these situations are so ridiculous. I don't know how. Okay, anyways, this old lady was declared dead, and she was put in a body bag and taken away. And they opened the body bag, and she was alive. Things are getting a little out of hand over there. It's like, oh man, yeah. There were 6 people involved. This lady was from a nursing home, and she was mistakenly declared dead. Just imagine that for a second. And the coroner was taken by the coroner to a waiting van before mortuary workers noticed they were still alive. Gosh, can you imagine if they didn't notice that she was alive and they did something else to her? God. Whew. Okay, Japan agrees defense deal with Thailand. Japan is a major power in Southeast Asia. And they have a lot of investment in the area. And why is this important? This is important because China is also a major investor in that area. So you have you have Japan, you have the U.S., you have China. So they're all competing for these different competing to influence different areas around the world. So, and Thailand is another front. Looks like Japan is trying to head off China over there. Beijing concerned with rising North Korean tensions. North Korea. I think Kim Jong-un is probably like the brother of Vladimir Putin from a different mother. Anyways, North Korea has been, shooting rockets, testing different missiles and all that stuff in their effort to get some attention from the world and build their nuclear arsenal while their people starve. So, yeah, North Korea could cause some potential, but not as a big of concern as, right now at least, as Russia or China. This one is pretty interesting. Exclusive Shanghai authorities stepped up to help Tesla reopen factory. As some of you may know, Elon Musk decided to order people to stay inside the factory, sleep in there, and work there. And this article talked about how the local authorities helped Tesla fulfill that commitment too, so people can stay and work inside these factories, sleep there too. So eat, sleep, do whatever else there. But yeah, interesting. What's interesting about this is I think it's very difficult to run a company in, like, for example, China, when it's the company's U.S. based, because there's so much differences in local laws and government, and the fact that Elon is buying Twitter, and China is a country that's not known for being open about communication and freedom of speech. So very interesting dynamic happening there. So, and Twitter is like, the global, the world's square, open space for communication. And so it'll be interesting how the future will hold between Elon and Twitter and China, because Tesla is very vested in China. I would be too. It's a huge market. So, very interesting. According to CNBC, Citi is behind a trade that caused brief European share plunge. So this article didn't really go into it, into the specifics, but there was one trade that took place with Citigroup, and it caused the European shares to suddenly fall, like dramatic fall. So, and it involved this is pretty much the detail they gave. Erroneous calculation relating to a Nasdaq Inc. index involving Swedish companies. That's basically what they said. But can you imagine one bank can cause the market to tank like that? CNN Business, very, very unfriendly Fed can, very, very unlikely Fed can tame inflation without sparkling recession, says former New York Fed chief says. So I'm just showing you more support that is that the Fed, they're so behind the ball that they may not be able to land a soft, create a soft landing for the market. And yeah, I think it's best to, it's like buying crypto or selling crypto, and whether the market's going to go up or down. People are always wondering, is it going to go up or down? Well, it's hard to say, but it's better to be prepared. So it's not a matter of if a recession is going to take place. It's a matter of what are you going to do about it, or what are you doing right now to prepare for it should it happen. And if it doesn't happen, great, you're prepared, right? So it's really a matter of preparation. Australia hikes its interest rate for the first time in more than a decade. So inflation is happening all over the world. It's just not in the U.S., although you hear a lot about it in the U.S. But inflation is crazy in other places too. So Australia is doing this to also help control their inflation. The Reserve Bank of Australia said the cash rate will be increased by 25 basis points to 0.35%, the first rate hike since November 2020. Then this was expected, so it's not new. And I believe this is the beginning of the first article. That's it for the macro news that may impact the world. The market. So feel free to help out. And smash that like. Smash it really hard. Ring my bell. Hit subscribe if you haven't, and share your thoughts. Remember, 2 key dates to remember. Tomorrow is the FOMC the second day of the FOMC meeting. They're going to wrap up. They're going to make their announcement or decisions. And then Friday is the job report. So 2 very important days. So, and this is my wrap up for the day. Not the day. Wrap up for my second video. I have more coming for the day. So I'll see you there. Peace.